Hi everybody, it's Nicole and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with another Vicki Boutin project using the new color study collection. I'm going to start my page here by punching a whole bunch of these circles out of this pattern paper. I'm going to use this kind of as a bit of inspiration to get my page started and use them actually as embellishments on my page later. I do change my plan throughout this video, so where I kind of get started, as you can see here, changes a little bit, but I'm going to start off by kind of placing these circles on the left side, or the right side of this foundations paper, and just mark with a circle kind of where the center of those circles are. I am going to not use all of these circles in the end, but I am going to now use the same size punch and create a bit of a template for where those circles are. And I realized I wanted it to be a little bit smaller because I am going to use a pencil line and I don't want the pencil line to show. So I'm just using a scrap cardstock, taking off that excess, and then using that circle to line up to those little X's I made, and just adding that to my foundations paper, and then going around with my pencil, just so I can know where I'm going to add my color later on. And no real rhyme or reason to this, I'm just kind of doing it as I wanted to. And what I've got here is some of Vicki's matte acrylic gel and my scraper tool, and I'm just using that to apply that around this circle area. In hindsight, I probably would have just done this to the whole back, like right side of this page, not necessarily just the circles, but I do like kind of where the acrylic gel stops and the foundations paper starts. So, that has to set aside to dry for about a half an hour, 20 minutes or so. So I'm going to set that aside. And while that's drying, I went ahead with all of my circles that I've punched, and as you can see, I'm just trimming off some stitching that I did on my sewing machine. That's just going to add a little bit of extra texture to those. And then I'm going to go ahead and see if my background is dry. It's a little bit tacky still, so I'm going to punch some plain colors now that go with those circles. I'm going to cut a few different ones here, all different colors. I'm probably going to punch more than I need, so I'll probably have 2 or 3 of each of the colors that I choose, and I'm only going to actually use one. Sometimes when you punch, you get, what I love about Vicki's papers is you get like a texture on them. So you can actually see that each paper will look a little bit different if you punched it 3 times. So sometimes you just like look at those blue ones there, they all look a little bit different. So sometimes you just want to punch to get some variation. And I always, if I'm going to take out a tool like a punch or a die cutter, I'll just throw those into a scrap pile, so it'll give me something to use on another project. So there's no harm in having extra. I am going to go ahead now. I'm looking for kind of a red color. There isn't really a paper that's red, like rainbow red, but I am using some of the teal and this pink floral from the paper pad. So I am going to punch some of those down as well. I completely have way too many colors, so I'm just going to line up each of the colors over the circles in a bit of a rainbow sort of pattern, so I get that whole rainbow color effect. I really wanted a red there up at the top, so I'm trying to decide through all my scraps in the back sides if I have something that will work. I wanted to use that pink with the hearts, but I felt like it was just still too much pink, so I decided to use this paper here because it has a nice red in it. So I punched a few of those, and you can see I get that red out of that paper. Now, because I've put that acrylic gel on the paper and it's dried, I'm just rubbing the gel crayon in a circle around the outer edge of my pencil mark. And I can just rub it with my finger to create like a nice, soft, kind of vibrant though, with the same way, color ring around that circle. The matte acrylic gel really helps move that pigment, so you don't have to worry about it being too dry and it won't smudge. If you didn't put the acrylic gel down, you would not be able to get kind of that smudgy, kind of watercolory, actually it's not even watercolory, it's really pretty artsy, I think, color. You can see I'm also mixing 2 of the colors together, the green and the blue, to get this nice kind of teal color. And the great part is if you add a little bit of color and you feel like it's not enough, you could just go on with the crayon and add a little bit more. And a little goes a long way, like a little ring around that color. You don't need a whole lot. Just make sure you're cleaning your finger off like I am there on my baby wipe. And you can see it moves really nicely on that acrylic gel medium. So a nice, technique with that product. Really, really easy to move that color around. And you can add and blend your colors really, really, really nicely, depending on what you want them to look like. All right, so I think that's how I'm going to end up with my colors. I want my rings. I decided I would go around the outer edge of each of those colored circles with my sewing machine just to link that sewing in the inside and the outside of the circles. And then I'm going to go ahead and add foam tape to the back of each of my circles that I'm going to place on my page. So I'm going to fill in those areas. So you can see all that tracing that I did earlier doesn't really matter. You won't be able to see that in the end. So that's kind of good. So I'm just going to go in and lightly add in all my papers. These are going to pop off my page quite nicely with the foam tape. And I am going to kind of cover up a little bit of my stitching because I didn't do like a perfect stitching circle. I did a bit of a wonky circle, and I really like that effect. I feel like it looks better than if I had purposely tried to do it all perfect. It would look really bad. So I'm going to trim off my excess. And you can see I have a whole ton of circles that I didn't even use, but I will definitely use those on another project. All right, so I have this photo for this side of the page. And now what I'm trying to do is figure out what I'm going to do on the left side of the page to bring in some of that color. While I'm trying to figure out that, I'm also going to add a little bit more black just to kind of add a bit of a neutral behind some of this here. I'm going to do that to all of my, I'm going to call these layered circles. So these are like the rings of the circle colors that are ringed. I guess they look like rings to me, rings of color. I'm going to add black behind each of those and then pop them up here, as you can see, with a bit more of that foam adhesive. And I'm going to use those as kind of floral embellishments actually on my project. Initially I thought I was going to use those as the circles there on the page, but I thought might be too much of the color with all the different rings. So I'm going to use those as flowers. And now I am trying to figure out what I can add to that left side of the page just to bring in kind of all those colors. I do like this pattern paper here, and I like the fact that it has this nice fun, almost like a, I want to say like a chalkboardy pastel kind of effect on the back side. So I trimmed off a bit of the black there, and then I'm going to add that down and a bit of the, I tore off a bit of the colorful side, and I'm just trying to decide which way I want to have that on my page. I ended up moving things and tearing things apart, as you can see. But tape runner generally, if you aren't super rough putting it on, you can generally lift it off as long as you don't use a whole lot. But so I'm going to go ahead with this positioning, and I'm going to sew that down too and trim that off, and then I'll add my photo, and then I'll get going with the rest of the embellishments on the page. So like I said, I'm going to use these kind of layered circle rings as kind of like floral embellishments. So I'm going to try to use those to fill in the gaps on the page where I have some open space. So in the end, there'll still be a lot of open area, but it will be more filled in with those circles, as well as some ink and stickers and things like that. I do know that I want to have some leaves for these flowers. So I actually ripped this out of my paper pad, the Color Study paper pad. I literally ripped it, as you can see, and I'm using that same circle punch to punch out leaf shapes from my paper. I probably won't quite do a couple for each leaf, but I will do several. Again, if I punch too many, I have a really big bowl that I throw all that stuff in, so it's not a waste of time. I love these stickers, so I know I want to use those. I think that will go nicely. And I do want to use one of these scripted words. So I think I'm going to go with Just Be out of this handwritten epoxy sticker. Just trying to figure out where to place the B. I will move that. And then I thought the U would be nice here out of the thickers. I'm going to foam those up just to get them to stick a little bit more. I do find sometimes that the cardboard, or the chipboard, sorry, thickers don't stick quite as well as the foam or the enamel epoxy ones, these here, the puffy ones. So I'm going to stick those down. And now, because I have that gap around the bottom quarter of my photo, that's a perfect place to start with my flowers. So I'm going to staple these two leaves together and just kind of place some of those circles in there to create my kind of floral cluster, using foam tape, of course, to stick all that stuff down. I am going to go in later and add a few fussy cut flowers, you'll see, to fill in some additional gaps, because you don't want to have things cross over each other to make it flow nicely. So I am trying to just place things around, playing with the color too in those rings. You can see this is the floral paper I am going to fussy cut. It's so easy because they're like a nice daisy shape. So easy to fussy cut out. You don't have to really fiddle too much. I won't bore you with all the details of how I cut them out, but they do cut out pretty simply. And so I'm going to mix those along with the layered circles there to kind of make my floral clusters on the page. So I'm going to do one here in the bottom right corner of the photo. And then as you can see, I'm going to do a second one kind of up in where that pink and that orange paper is to finish off that area. The good thing about this paper, it has some larger flowers as well as some smaller ones. So you can see you can tuck some of these really smaller ones in quite nicely. And these ringed circle punch shapes that I have, they're good because they have a lot of different colors. So if you want to break up, you know, all that pink and orange up in that corner, you can definitely add in more pink and orange, but adding in a little bit more green and purple just to get some of that other color into that area. And again, these flowers, this is like one of those things you probably want to sit down and watch a movie or a TV show on Netflix and just cut the whole paper and put it in a bowl so you have it handy. That would be probably the best thing to do. But I don't mind cutting to order, as you can say. So I'm going to finish this off here, by adding another circle to the bottom left corner. I'm not going to leave it down there on the bottom, on the way in the bottom left. I'm going to move it up here, right beside my title, just to fill in that area nicely, and then tuck a few leaves in behind my photo. I'm going crazy with the foam adhesive as usual. So I have like a big roll, as well as some pre-cut ones already that I trimmed down to be a little bit smaller. All right, so now I'm going to take some of those same puffy stickers, and this time I'm going to use the different colored dots that come on the page. So that'll be good to kind of fill in my little open areas around my circles. I actually thought after the fact I should have done an extra, like a couple rings around the circles just to fill it in a little bit more. But I do like the dots. I think the dots add a nice texture too. So I'm going to do that. And I'm trying to decide what's missing. I feel like something is missing. I can't really decide, but I keep going with stickers. So I'm going from my larger to my smallers. And then I realized I kind of needed a little bit more black because I have those black in the title and the black around the flowers. So I added just a few black ink drops from my ink stash. And then I'm layering just a few stickers from the sticker book here onto my photo and onto just a couple of those circles. I don't want to do all of them, but just a few. Not those, I love those stickers. The little sticker book is so versatile. You could use them in a lot of different ways. And then I thought I really want to add another one of these ring circles up at the top. So I am going to move my red dots there that I have beside my red flower. I'm just going to add just a tiny bit here, just to add a little bit more of those rings, that green in there. I want to bring some of the green blue colors from the bottom of the page up to the top. And then I'm going to cut another little flower out. These are the smaller size ones on the paper. And that will just help kind of flow things a little bit nicer across from the circles. Helps break up some of the graphic nature of those circles. So one last fussy cut. Another foam adhesive, and this is where I move those dots over a little bit and fill in with that flower. So I really like how this one turned out. I definitely love the technique here with the matte acrylic gel. This is something I will do again for sure. I have a few different ideas for this technique. Really easy and fun, a great way to use the gel crayons, and really colorful as well. So I hope you've liked this one, and I will see you again next week, and have a good week. Bye-bye.